This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, August 15th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
It was supposed to be a speech about the economy, but it was really about criticizing his opponent.
Nothing that she ever did worked.
I'm Linda Kenyon in Washington.
A top Hamas official says the militant group is losing faith in the U.S. as a mediator in Gaza ceasefire talks. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
A ruling in a case surrounding Jewish students at UCLA not being allowed on campus. I'm Clayton Neville.
Potential new trouble facing Hunter Biden. We'll have details.
On Wall Street, stocks had a winning day yesterday, and investors are waiting for results today from Walmart. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
New Jersey to name a caretaker senator, we'll tell you why. And guns banned at the Texas State Fair, a rule that could face a lawsuit. All ahead on America in the Morning. Billed as a speech about the economy, former President Trump's rally in North Carolina turned into something quite different. Correspondent Linda Kenyon has the story.
It was billed as a speech about the economy, and early on, that's what it was.
Vote Trump and your incomes will soar, your savings will grow, young people will be able to afford a home, and we will bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
At a rally in Asheville, North Carolina, the former president also blamed Vice President Harris for persistent inflation, despite a Labor Department report released earlier that showed consumer prices rose a mild 0.2% in July, with inflation falling below 3% for the first time since March of 2021. And then Trump blamed the vice president for stealing his economic ideas.
We will have no tax on tips. I said that was my plan.
Next, he veered completely off the subject to focus on personal attacks.
She refuses to do any interviews or press conferences. Almost 30 days now. She hasn't done an interview. You know why she hasn't done an interview? Because she's not smart. She's not intelligent. And we've gone through enough of that with this guy, Crooked Joe.
And Trump doubled down as he extended his criticism to the issue of border security.
All over the world, crime is down because they're taking their criminals and their people from mental institutions and they're putting them into our country because we have stupid people like Kamala and Joe running our country.
Trump's tactics may not be giving him the desired results, which may be why his campaign staff has tried to redirect his attention. Recent polling shows Harris gaining ground, even surpassing Trump. The Cook Political Report, for example, shows Harris leading Trump in 5 out of 7 key battleground states. And it is the battleground states that will likely decide the outcome of this election. Linda Kenyon, Washington.
A new round of talks to end the war in Gaza set to begin today. Egypt, Qatar, and the U.S. acting as mediators between Israel and Hamas. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that there's still no word if the terror group will send a representative to the planned meeting.
President Biden's going to continue to do what's right. He has Israel's back against Iran and its proxy groups. He has Israel's back on this deal. He won't allow extremists to blow things off course, including extremists in Israel.
A top Hamas official says the militant group is losing faith in the U.S. as a mediator in Gaza ceasefire talks. More talks are scheduled this week in a bid to end the 10-month war with Israel. But Hamas political official Osama Hamdan tells the AP the group will only take part if the talks focus on implementing a ceasefire proposal President Biden laid out in May. At the same time, Hamdan says Israel has not acted in good faith during the talks, and Hamas does not believe the U.S. can or will pressure Israel to seal a deal.
Well, the United States doesn't think Hamas is an honest broker.
State Department spokesman Vedant Patel says the U.S. believes Hamas will attend the talks.
We fully expect these talks to move forward as they should, and our point of view is that all negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. It is far time for the remaining hostages to be released, which of course include American citizens, and bring relief to the people of Gaza under the deal that is now on the table.
While here at the White House,
there's always political posturing.
Spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre suggests Hamas may be bluffing and all sides should only be focused on ending the war. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. When we return on America in the Morning, Hunter Biden and the Burisma scandal. After these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning, fresh on the heels of Debbie. Forecasters are watching Ernesto. With an update, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Hurricane Ernesto continues to spin generally toward the north this morning while pulling away from the island of Hispaniola after delivering heavy rain and strong winds. Through the day today, the storm is expected to take on a more north-northeasterly track with increasing impacts for the east coast of the nation. Ernesto will turn up some rough surf, dangerous seas, and strong rip currents along the southeast coast through the end of the week, with similar effects tracking northward along the rest of the east coast this weekend and even into early next week as Ernesto heads for a likely landfall in Atlantic Canada. In terms of today's conditions, a cold front will fall apart as it dives southward through New England, bringing numerous thunder showers to the region, especially for the afternoon hours. For the interior northeast and the mid-Atlantic, another fairly nice mid-August day is in store for many, as the humidity remains generally low beneath some sunshine. However, a second, better organized cold front pushes across the central Gulf Coast and the Florida Peninsula today, with spotty afternoon thunderstorms expected from Louisiana to far South Carolina and point southward. Thunderstorms may be severe as an intensifying disturbance tracks across the upper Midwest, bringing the risk for hail, strong winds, and tornadoes from southern Wisconsin to northeastern Oklahoma today and into tonight. More spotty showers and storms extend to the north and west from the severe risk area into the eastern Dakotas, with widely separated thunder showers across interior sections of the Northwest as the latest disturbance continues to push onshore later today. However, areas from the west coast through much of Texas look to be mainly dry instead. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A federal judge is weighing in on pro-Palestinian demonstrations on American college campuses with the fall semester about to start. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports this comes as the president of a prominent Ivy League school abruptly resigns.
U.S. District Judge Mark Scarsi making a ruling in a lawsuit filed by Jewish students at UCLA who say they experienced discrimination on campus during pro-Palestinian protests last spring because of their faith. The three students claim the university failed to ensure access to campus for all Jewish students. One of those students posted a video of being denied access to campus, and it went viral.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're not letting me enter public land. What they're doing is illegal. Let's get a nice look at their faces. You can kiss your jobs goodbye.
The video led to a call by Jewish students nationwide to stand up against hate.
We stand tall and proudly and voice our message to the world. Israel is not going anywhere. The Jewish people are not going anywhere.
UCLA argues it has no legal tie to the incident because protesters, not the university, blocked the Jewish students from going on campus. But the judge sees it differently, ruling the university is prohibited from providing classes and access to buildings on campus if Jewish students are blocked from it. The ruling comes with classes just around the corner for many universities. Some leaders say the summer months have allowed more time to beef up policies around encampments and demonstrations, and some say leadership was caught off guard by last school year's protests. More accountability still, a resignation months after the controversy by the president of Columbia University last night. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Biden's son reportedly sought assistance from the U.S. government for a lucrative energy project in Italy. Fox News is reporting that Hunter Biden wrote at least one letter to the U.S. ambassador to Italy in 2016, seeking assistance for the Ukrainian gas company Burisma, where he was a board member at a time when his father was vice president during the Obama administration. At that time, Burisma was pursuing a geothermal project in the Tuscany region of Italy. An attorney for the president's son said no meeting ever occurred and claims the request was proper. presidential election, the Social Security vote. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning day for stocks yesterday. Inflation came in as expected and below 3% for the first time in 3 years. The S&P 500 index is on a 5-day winning streak now. The Dow back above 40,000.
40,000 on the Dow, essentially back to the level from right before the jobs report. This is where we are. Look, it's a bull market. It always was. I'm just a little surprised at how quickly we've gotten back to this point.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. The CPI, Consumer Price Index, moving in the right direction, sitting at 2.9%. That's the lowest since 2021.
After heading sideways for a few months, you can see that we now have this a couple months now where we've been declining.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman. Wall Street trying to game out whether 2.9% will push the Fed to cut interest rates at its meeting next month.
These are good numbers. If I'm Jay Powell, I'm cutting 50 in September. Ooh. That would be consistent with the last 3 cutting cycles where they started with 50 in January of 01, September of 07, and then, of course, the pandemic.
SMBC Nikko Securities, Joe Lavorgna on CNBC. Privately held Mars, which makes M&Ms and Snickers, is buying Kellanova, the snack food business that Kellogg's recently spun off, and it makes Cheez-Its, Pringles, and Pop-Tarts, and more.
They're going to dominate a section of the market, which is the Kind Bar, Nutri-Grain bar, which is somewhere you want to be, because that is not a GLP-1 enemy. But they also are going to own the cracker aisle.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer.
Social Security in the spotlight. It'll be a big issue for the upcoming election.
Social Security, turns out, is a key issue for voters in the new CNBC All-America survey, hitting the highest level of importance in the 11 years the poll's been taken. America is aging, more people are collecting, and they're worried it's going to run out. More than 2/3 of those asked, 69%, said a candidate's position on Social Security will be a major factor in their vote this fall. Now, back in March, former President Trump made national news when he told CNBC he's open to cutting Social Security.
There is a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting, and in terms of also the theft.
Former President Trump on CNBC, but now his campaign is saying Trump would protect Social Security. The Harris campaign says it would not cut Social Security, but the wealthiest Americans might have to put in a little more. On today's watch list, we get earnings from America's biggest retailer, Walmart, plus Applied Materials and John Deere. We get retail sales numbers for July. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Trump trial, judge defiant. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for listening and welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The judge in Donald Trump's New York hush money case again is refusing to step aside. Correspondent Julie Walker explains.
Donald Trump has lost his latest bid for a new judge in his New York hush money criminal case. Judge Juan Merchan, in a decision posted Wednesday, declining to step down. This comes as the case heads toward a ruling and potential sentencing next month. The request was the third from lawyers for the Republican presidential nominee, arguing Merchan has a conflict of interest because his daughter works as a political consultant for prominent Democrats and campaigns, including Vice President Kamala Harris's 2020 presidential run. She's now Trump's Democratic opponent. Last year, a state court ethics panel said Merchan could continue on the case. Julie Walker, New York.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy plans to name his former chief of staff to become the temporary replacement for outgoing Senator Bob Menendez. George Helmy, who was a former staffer for New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, now a healthcare executive, is expected to be named by Murphy to take over for Menendez, whose 50-year political career came to a crashing end following his conviction on federal corruption charges and will be leaving office next week, 5 months before his term was to end. America in the Morning continues. Following a shooting at the Texas State Fair last year, organizers of the annual event announced it's banning firearms, drawing the ire of a number of Republican officials, including the Texas Attorney General, who's threatening a lawsuit. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer with more on the story.
The State Fair of Texas is an annual celebration of corn dogs, deep-fried delights, and a 5-story cowboy named Big Tex. But now a decision to ban guns after a shooting on the fairgrounds last year has Texas's Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton threatening legal action. Paxton is warning that he will file a lawsuit if the ban is not rescinded. More than 70 lawmakers signed a letter this week urging the fair to reconsider the ban, but fair officials are not backing down and say they strongly believe the ban will make the fair safer. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Both presidential tickets campaigning hard this week across the country. I'm Clayton Neville.
Annual inflation in the U.S. last month hit its lowest level in more than 3 years. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
The 5th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, Ernesto, now a hurricane. Julie Walker will have the latest.
Wearing a mask to hide your identity in Nassau County, New York is now illegal. I'm Sue Aller.
The World Health Organization has declared the Mpox outbreaks in Congo a global emergency. I'm Ed Donahue.
A first-round rookie quarterback will miss the 2024 NFL season. I'm John Stolnis.
America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. As for any potential severe weather this Thursday, let's get a check from AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
The area facing the best risk for thunderstorms that can turn severe today and through the nighttime hours is the zone from northern Arkansas northward to far southeastern Minnesota, where a developing storm crossing the Midwest will deliver a heightened chance for damaging winds, intense downpours, hail, and some tornadoes. Some coverage of more general showers and thunderstorms from this feature also can be expected to extend from western Iowa and the rest of Minnesota toward eastern parts of the Dakotas. Farther to the west, some spotty thunder showers build over the interior northwest today, especially this afternoon, in association with the latest in a series of disturbances to affect the region, bringing yet another chance for wet weather in places such as Montana and western Wyoming. A stray thunder shower can even reach as far to the south as western Colorado, but most locations from California to New Mexico have a dry day in store. Otherwise, a collapsing cold front means that areas from New England into northern New York also face the risk of thunder showers, most widespread in coverage during the afternoon. Interior sections of the Northeast, as well as a majority of the mid-Atlantic states, are in for a generally quiet day with at least tolerable humidity in many places. Farther to the south, a separate cold front will instead hold together as it crosses South Florida, with mainly afternoon thunderstorms possible for much of the state and points westward to coastal far eastern Texas. In Boston, look for some hazy sunshine with an afternoon or evening thunder shower and a high of 79. For Las Vegas, blazing sunshine is in store with a high of 107 degrees expected. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Democratic National Convention is set for next week, and the presidential campaigning, with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, along with their VP choices J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, is in full force ahead of November's election. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest from the campaign trail.
The vice presidential candidates doing their part this week as they prop up their running mates across the country. Trump's pick for VP, J.D. Vance, rallied a crowd in Michigan, a key battleground state.
And this November, we're going to turn the page, my friends, on a generation of failed leadership. We're going to make America great again, and we're going to do it by electing Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
Vice President Kamala Harris's choice for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is campaigning solo this week. He touted the work of union workers at an event in L.A.
I happen to be the first union member on a presidential ticket since Ronald Reagan.
Now Walz heads east for the next few days and is committing to a debate. He posted on social media that he'll see Vance on October 1st for a CBS News debate. Meanwhile, on the presidential campaign trail, former President Trump delivered a speech on the economy. He was in Asheville, North Carolina.
When I win the election, we will immediately begin a brand new Trump economic boom. It'll be a boom. We're going to turn this country around so fast.
Trump spoke to the crowd about his conversation on X this week, formerly known as Twitter, with the company's owner, Elon Musk.
2.5 hours being grilled by Elon, and we had a good time, actually. We're talking about something we love, our country. Much easier when you love something, right?
Trump celebrated what he called Musk's endorsement.
What he wants to do is see our country be great again, and he understands. And it's very hard for him to endorse the opposing party. It's not easy. It's very hard.
Trump ripped into Harris's policies, or what he calls a lack thereof. She's expected to release some of her policy plans as early as this week, this all ahead of the DNC, which is slated for next week in Chicago, where President Biden will speak, according to White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
What I can say more broadly is the president's looking forward to it. He sees it as an important moment to talk directly, not just to the party, the Democratic Party and delegates, but also obviously to the American people. And so you'll hear from him. Stay tuned.
Vice President Harris campaigning this week in Maryland with President Biden, then on to North Carolina and Pennsylvania this weekend. In fact, over the next few days, Vance, Trump, and Walz will also hit the Keystone State. I'm Clayton Neville.
Our nation's economic woes, one of the major topics for the upcoming election. Annual inflation in the U.S. last month hit its lowest level in more than 3 years, setting the stage for the Federal Reserve to start cutting its key interest rate next month. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
Annual inflation in the U.S. last month hit its lowest level in more than 3 years, setting the stage for the Federal Reserve to start cutting its key interest rate next month. Consumer prices rose 2.9% in July when measured from a year earlier. That's the smallest gain since March 2001, and another sign the worst price spike in 4 decades is fading.
Lower gas prices seem to me important in that regard. They're down something like 35 cents relative to a year ago. That also helps on the consumer side.
Asked if the U.S. has finally beaten inflation.
Yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working.
But hours after President Biden spoke,
no victory laps.
Jared Bernstein, his top economic advisor.
While the trend is our friend, our work is far from done.
The inflation slowdown could impact the presidential race, where Donald Trump's been hammering Kamala Harris.
You're paying the price for Kamala's liberal extremism at the gas pump, at the grocery counter.
Harris says she will soon roll out her plans to lower prices and boost the economy.
Inflation is coming down, as I just said to the first questioner. We think it's on a reliable track to get back to where it needs to be. But there are too many prices that are still too high. And I think that's one of the reasons for the disconnect that you described, for some of the negative vibes that you described. And I have 3 words for people who feel the way you just said, which is we hear you.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Ernesto is now a hurricane after pummeling the Northeast Caribbean and leaving 750,000 people without power in Puerto Rico, and they may stay in the dark for days. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, while Ernesto may not make landfall in the continental United States, Atlantic coast beaches from Florida to Maine could be severely impacted this weekend with dangerous rip currents.
To make an approach towards Bermuda sometime on Friday or Saturday. Air Force and NOAA data from our Hurricane Hunter aircraft have shown that Ernesto has now strengthened into a hurricane. An additional strengthening is forecasted over the next couple of days.
In Puerto Rico, where there are some power outages and rain, people are recovering from Ernesto, which packed 70-mile-per-hour winds.
People are staying inside as long as they don't need anything like groceries, because from what I can tell, this rain hasn't stopped anyone from going out and getting what they need. It may have been a little inconvenience as they can't go on hikes or things like that, but it's just staying in as a safety measure in case it gets worse.
Tourist Oliver Andrus describes it.
It was blowing so hard, it was a struggle to open and close the door. But after that, it's been, I'd guess, around 30 to 40 mile-an-hour winds. It has been completely manageable.
The National Hurricane Center's Lisa Bucci says Ernesto became a hurricane after leaving Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. It's now over water heading to Bermuda.
We are keeping a close eye on it, and, watches or warnings could be necessary.
She says Ernesto is creating swells affecting the Caribbean and could reach the U.S. East Coast by the end of week.
These swells are expected to reach the East Coast later this week, and these swell could cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. So if you're planning to go to the beach this weekend, please look for areas that have lifeguards and check to make sure that it's safe to go into the water.
I'm Julie Walker.
Leave your COVID face mask behind in this New York county. We'll have that story, plus a new treatment for ALS, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. I'm John Trout. This is America in the Morning. A first-of-its-kind ban on face masks is now the law in a county outside of New York City. Sue Aller reports from Long Island.
It is now the law. Wearing a face mask in public is now illegal in Nassau County, New York. County Executive Bruce Blakeman signed the controversial legislation on Wednesday.
Nobody has a constitutional right to hide their identity in public. People using masks to shoplift, to carjack, to rob banks.
Masks will still be allowed for health and religious reasons. Supporters also say it will prevent violent protesters from hiding their identity, like the ones that happened last spring on the campus of Columbia University. However, civil rights groups argue it infringes on free speech and could lead to biased enforcement. These Nassau County residents spoke to News 4 New York.
How are they going to distinguish between whether it's someone who wants to rob a store or someone who has a cold?
How could they enforce that? They can't.
Violators could face a misdemeanor charge, punishable by up to a year in jail or a $1,000 fine. In New York, I'm Sue Aller.
New concerns about the fast-spreading monkeypox, or Mpox as it's called, as the deadly virus is rapidly moving through Africa and is now officially a global health emergency. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
The World Health Organization has declared the Mpox outbreaks in Congo and elsewhere in Africa a global emergency. Confirmed cases of Mpox, also known as monkeypox, have been reported among children and adults in more than a dozen countries.
The emergency committee met and advised me that, in its view, the situation constitutes a public health emergency of international concern.
WHO's Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says few vaccine doses are available in Africa.
The detection and rapid spread of a new clade of Mpox in eastern DRC, its detection in neighboring countries that had not previously reported Mpox, and the potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying.
So far, there have been more than 14,000 Mpox cases and 524 people have died.
A coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives.
People with Mpox get lesions on their body. It mostly spreads through close contact with infected people, including through sex. I'm Ed Donahue.
She starred in movies including The Notebook. Actress Gina Rowlands passed away at her California home. The 3-time Emmy winner and 2-time Oscar nominee rose to fame as Mabel Longetti in the 1974 drama, A Woman Under the Influence, written for her and directed by husband John Cassavetes, and landed the actress the first of 2 Academy Award nominations. The other was for Gloria in 1980, also directed by her husband. Her movie career spanned 7 decades. Rowlands was 94. In 1975, Wally Amos took out a $25,000 loan to make baked goods, and the rest is history. The man who became known as Famous Amos built an empire on the cookies he learned to make from his aunt. Amos started out with a single store in Los Angeles, and his famous Amos cookies soon wound up in stores and vending machines across the nation. Amos passed away at his home in Hawaii. He was 88. America in the Morning continues. Nerve damage from ALS often causes paralysis of the vocal cords. Now, new brain implants have allowed test subjects to speak again, only 48 hours after surgery. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
In yet another example of medical technology helping humans, a man with ALS who lost his ability to speak has been able to communicate with a new neurotech device. ALS, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive degeneration of the nerve cells in the spinal cord and the brain. BlackRock Neurotech has developed a text-to-speech brain implant, researchers said, show promise of brain-computer interfacing for restoring speech in paralyzed patients. Dr. Edward Chang, writing an editorial for the New England Journal of Medicine, said these studies provide compelling new evidence of rapid progress, clinically viable, and practical applications. In addition to BlackRock, Medtronic, Synchron, and Elon Musk's Neuralink are companies that are working toward commercializing the brain-computer interfaces. By the second day of use, the patient was able to communicate a 125,000-word dictionary. Leave a comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning's John Stoneless has a look at sports.
Minnesota Vikings fans got the worst news possible after their first-round quarterback left practice with a sore knee on Tuesday. J.J. McCarthy will miss the rest of the season after surgery to repair a torn meniscus. McCarthy was drafted at number 10 overall back in April and hurt himself at some point in Saturday's preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Free agent signee Sam Darnold will be the first to get snaps as the first-team quarterback. And one of the league's best pass rushers is on the move. The Patriots are sending top edge rusher Matthew Judon to the Falcons for a third-round pick. The 32-year-old is a 4-time Pro Bowler who missed most of last year with a torn bicep, but notched a career-high 15.5 sacks in 2022. On the diamond last night in Chicago, Yankees outfielder Juan Soto hit 3 homers in a game for the first time in his career. Last night, his teammates Aaron Judge made history against the White Sox.
Hammered in the air, deep to left field, history, number 300 for Aaron Judge, the fastest man ever in Major League Baseball to reach the 300 home run plateau.
The call on the Yes Network, and with that blast, Judge passed Ralph Kiner as the fastest player in baseball history to get to 300 home runs, doing it in 955 games. Kiner needed 1,087. And with their loss last night, the White Sox continue to threaten posting the worst winning percentage in modern baseball history, so they've announced they're cutting season ticket prices next year by 10%. And that's your look at sports.
Thank you, John Stolness, with a look at sports. When we return, sinking. Souls brave the waters to save a woman in her car. That when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Some fans are not happy with Blake Lively in spite of her hit movie. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
Blake Lively is coming under fire for how she handled herself during the promotion tour of her new movie, It Ends With Us. The romantic drama was a hit with audiences, overperforming at the box office and raking in $50 million opening weekend. However, some fans are taking issue with what they consider Lively's tone-deaf approach during the press tour. EV Magazine posted a compilation video on X featuring Lively painting the film as a girls' night out rom-com rather than a more serious drama that deals with domestic violence.
What's your childhood dream?
To wear Britney Spears' Versace dress.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
In another interview, Lively provides a flippant response to journalist Jake Hamilton when asked how viewers could approach her in public to open up about the themes of the movie.
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could...
There were already rumors of behind-the-scenes drama with her director and co-star Justin Baldoni, and how he spoke about the film drew a sharp contrast to Lively's comments.
Everybody has the ability to end a cycle that they didn't ask for. We can all say it ends with us in our life.
On Tuesday, in what appeared to be a response to the criticism, Lively posted an Instagram story drawing attention to domestic violence and providing contact information for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I'm Kevin Carr.
Finally today, who said there's never a cop around when you need one? It was a man in blue and some good Samaritans who raced to action when a woman drove into a Texas pond. With the outcome in the harrowing ordeal, here's correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
Newly available video shows police in southeast Texas making a dramatic water rescue of a woman whose vehicle was almost completely submerged in a pond after she suffered a seizure. Janquetta Winbush's 2 children did manage to get out. Her son ran to get help from patrolman Charles Cobb, who was nearby monitoring traffic.
She's having a seizure. She's sunk. She's in the water.
Oh, come on, hop in. I'll bring you over there.
Cobb jumped in to try to rescue her.
Is somebody in there?
2 workers from a local plant also jumped in to help.
Here, I got a punch. Here.
The group pulled the woman to shore, and Officer Cobb then revived her using chest compressions. After 3 weeks in intensive care, the woman is now breathing on her own and is expected to make a full recovery. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.